What is up, guys? It is Nisho here, and today we got ourselves another Beyond the Duel article with Ken Sear writing this one, and he's talking about struggling battle. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this article with you guys is because I this article actually gave me the clarification on struggling battle and its timing activation. And so, as you can see right here in parentheses, is that many players misunderstood that struggling battle would clear the opponent's entire field. However, the card text is worded, words before the colon is the activation condition. Hence, struggling battle can only be activated during the end of a battle phase. So you can't activate it in main phase one, standby phase. As I was saying in my first video about struggling battle, I thought you could activate it like any time during the turn. Obviously before the battle phase. And in the back of my mind, I did feel like it was a little weird that it didn't say at the end of the next battle phase or at the end of like activate this card only. Like it was worded in a way where it was kind of hard to understand unless you knew the way that wording in Yu-Gi-Oh works. So that's definitely something that I need to look a little more into. But upon which it will resolve while struggling battle is on the field, leaving your opponent to banish all but one card. So since it can only be activated at the end of the battle phase, it will count as another card on your side of the field when you activate it. So if you have this and maybe another card on the field and you activate it at the end of the battle phase, then your opponent has to banish all but two. And if it's the only card in the field, then your opponent banishes all but one card they control, and they get to control what card they get to keep. Yes, there may be something that might give them a small advantage, but honestly, with how much you're banishing for one card, and the fact that you still get to have a main phase two and all this and that, I mean, people may just start siding in Terminal World just because of this card, because Terminal World just stops players from having a main phase two in general. So if someone were to go through their turn, and they would have to consider whether they actually want to do all their plays and then activate struggling battle and not banish as many cards, or just activate struggling battle in general and not do anything else because they would have to go straight to their end phase. But yeah, I mean, still, banishing all those cards is still pretty strong. And this article does talk a lot about all the different ways it uses. It's going second, going first, different ways it could be used. You could use it like instead of like kaiju's, and you could use it, and it kind of fixes some of the problems that cards like Lava Golem and kaiju's have. But at the same time, there are situations where kaiju may be better, and there's this weakness. Like Imperial Iron Wall, obviously, and also it's a trap card, so it can be negated by certain things. And also, if a player knows how to save their resources and not to overextend, it may not be a big deal, because there are a lot of decks that can still make a decent board and still save their resources while doing that. And so overextending may not be a problem that every deck has. Like maybe a deck like True Dracos, like if they keep a Draconic Diagram in their hand, and then you struggling battle them, they get to keep a card, and the next turn they draw, and then they use Draconic Diagram, and then they search. It may not have made that much of a difference, but also with like Masterpiece, if they tribute a trap card for Masterpiece, then Masterpiece will be unaffected by struggling battle. And instead of targeting the Masterpiece, it will be for the you may not, you may say like, oh, I want to keep my Draconic Diagram. But another thing you have to realize is that I remember it was somewhere around here. Struggling Battle is a card that doesn't target the monster. So if a monster is right here. So the fact that the cards will be banished face down is also a powerful effect, as it prevents card effects from being triggered and makes recovery of the banished cards much harder. On top of it all, struggling battle doesn't target. It affects the player, and the player has to make a choice on which cards to send. This means that the normally immune cards such as Masterpiece, a True Dracoslaying King, and Apocryphal Towers can be affected by struggling battle. And So if you don't understand what that meant, there are monsters that say, this card is unaffected by spawn trap card effects, right? Now, Struggling Battle is a card that doesn't affect the actual cards on the field. It says the player chooses. So because it is the player, so because it says the player has to choose, it's this card can no longer be like cards that say they're unaffected by spawn trap cards. That effect doesn't apply because it's targeting the player and not the actual cards themselves, and that is a very actually powerful mechanic. So players would have to be careful. Like if they control like two masterpieces, they only get to keep one. Even if both of them are unaffected by trap cards, they only get to keep one of those masterpieces. And honestly, that also is another broken part about it. It's like you can't Forbidden Lance your monster to save it. Like you would have to choose that monster that would stay. So yeah, it can cause a lot of mind games. Overextending will definitely be a scary thing. But honestly, it always has been. Like we've always had fear of like, I mean, back in my day, we've when decks were more trap heavy, we always had fear of like Mirror Force and Torrential Tribute, and all this stuff that would just board wipe you in like one turn. Like if you had too many spawn trap cards set first turn, I'm like, damn, is he gonna draw Heavy Storm? And it's one of those things where it's like it is a little scary that to overextend or to feel like in this like helpless state when your opponent has an answer to something. But if you know how to save your resources, or if you have a deck that knows how not to overextend, then it just might help you. But then there's also the situation where both players are using Struggling Battle, or both players have Struggling Battle in their hand, like they both top decked it, so nobody wants to make a big board first, and unless they could get like a negate on the board, like maybe a Lagia, maybe something else, Hope Harbinger, Crystal Wing, like they want something on the board that can negate something or be unaffected by something before they decide to play. Now, it won't always help you against Struggling Battle because, as I said before, Struggling Battle affects the player and not the card. But it still might be a big deal, honestly. And that's why I think Struggling Battle is an amazing card. It's not the best card, obviously, but I do still feel like it already has the potential to be hit on the next ban list. Still, even with this clarification of it can only be activated at the end of the battle phase. But yeah, well, what do you guys think? Honestly, I'm still kind of sold on the card. I mean, if this card comes common, I'm getting as many of these as quick as I can. It might just be a hollow card simply because of how much hype it's getting already. I think Konami listens. So with the whole Billy breakthrough, we learned that Konami actually watches and probably even listens to the advice or the videos of the Yu-Gi-Oh players. Like they listen to the community, like what's good, what's not, and I do think Struggling Battle might just be hollow because of that. Like with the whole Vanity's Emptiness situation. Like at first it was just a common that nobody cared about in Star Strike Blast, and then one person used it in Burning Abyss, and all of a sudden everybody started using it. And then Konami just saw that, and then they were like, "Oh, okay, well let's reprint this card in Secret Rare." Might not be a bad idea. And they did that in the 5D's Legendary Collection, and then we saw it again in Secret Forces, which was the set Necros came in, and then it became real accessible. It went from a worthless common to a $30 common to a $20 to $30 Secret Rare to like a $3 Super Rare. So yeah, we can tell that Konami definitely tries to juice the player. They definitely see like what's good and what's not, and they definitely try to juice the players, or the TCG side of Konami anyway. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for now. This was Nisho here. I'll definitely leave a link to this article in the description. Real interesting article. You should read it if you have the time, or if you have the interest. But if not, this was Nisho here, signing out.